Okay. So let's first briefly talk about the question format. So this is the two-part analysis question, which you will see on data insight section. I think so overall data insights has 20 questions, of which I think about four or so questions could be two-part analysis. Uh, this is the usual format. You have some text, then you have some question here. Okay, so there is a passage, then there is a question stem, you can say. And finally, you have these options. Okay, and this is a typical format in which the options are presented. So there are three columns. One column contains different answers. And then you have to find one answer each for each of the two columns. And the thing is, the answer could be the same. For example, 2530 can be the answer for both of these. Because some people may automatically assume that the answer has to be different. That's not the case. The answer could be the same also for both of these columns. Okay. So this is the question format. Uh, Normally, of course, in some cases, the question is also testing some skills which have not been tested so far in quant and verbal, but primarily it's testing the same skills that have already been tested in the quant and verbal section, just as the question format is different. Okay, so in my understanding, so the various two-part questions that I have solved, I think the primary problem or the primary reason that I believe people will get questions wrong in two-part analysis questions is that they will be misunderstanding some parts of the question, either the passage or the text or the question stem. This, I believe, is going to be the single most frequent reason why people will get these questions wrong. So essentially, it boils down to comprehension skills. Okay, some of the questions may involve some calculations also, and some of the questions, as I said, also test you on certain skills which have not been tested in verbal and quant, which is essentially we'll probably look at one of the questions in which you have to sequence things given the constraints. But primarily, it is going to be about comprehension. If you get the comprehension correct in place, I think it's quite likely you'll end up getting these questions right. Okay, and we'll see the kinds of mistakes people face as we do various two-part analysis questions today. But this is essentially how the questions will look like. Some passage, then question stem, and then you have the options. And you have to select one cell, one answer for each of the two columns here. There might be four or five or six uh, rows here. So essentially here we have six. So quickly a math question. I think we have already done that. So I'll not ask that. Okay, so let's start with this. So you have, I'll give you a lot of time, so don't rush. So let's take 5 minutes to solve this. You need to share your answer as a direct message to me. Okay, so you can share your answer as a direct chat message to me on Zoom. Okay, take time, share your answer, and then we'll discuss it. Okay. Another 30 seconds. Need more time?
I will need more time.
How much more time?
In 2 minutes.
No, no.
But if everyone else is done, they can do it.
I've gotten three answers. I'll move on. We've already taken 6 minutes on this. Okay. Uh, and of course, you can also sort of share if you want what aspect took you so long. So basically, uh, uh, you can share it right now also. What exactly is taking you so long?
So, decoding the wordings into like the tables. So they've said the 52% increase over the 5 year period. Um, I'm getting confused between the dates and what percentages or numbers I should assign to each year. Like they're saying, when they're saying by 2000s, what number should that represent? And when they're saying beginning, like in the last 5 years. So there's kind of like an it's not easy for me to comprehend all of the sentences
Yeah,
that they say.
I say. So I'll share with you how I'm reading it, and then you can share how that was different from the way you consumed it. Okay. So
Yeah.
it says in June 1990, uh, specific month in 1990, this press published an initial run of 2,500 copies. Let me change the pen color. So they essentially published 2,500 copies of this book, right? It makes sense, okay? So 2,500 copies was published of this book, which is Speech and Speaking. Okay. Because the first run was selling well, a second larger run was produced in 1995. So same year, June, 5 years later, original is selling well. So now we are uh, producing even more copies, right? And larger run. So basically, it's going to produce more than 2,500 copies, right?
Yeah.
Total sales for the period June 95 to June 2000. So essentially, this timeline should be clear in your mind. If you need assistance of a pen, you can use it. But essentially, this I'll be creating in my mind that essentially we started talking about June 1990 and then June 1995. And now we are talking till June 2000, right? So now here we are talking about the sales represented an increase of 52% over total sales for the preceding 5 years. So we are comparing this sales and this sales, right? So if this was X, this was 1.52X, right? This is different from the number of copies we have produced.
Yeah. This is where I went wrong. I got confused between number of copies. I was assigning X to number of copies produced in 1990. I don't
Okay.
know why, but I did that when I
So
was
this
getting
is
it.
हाँ, so this is 2,500. वो तो यहाँ पे प्रोड्यूस हुई थी. यहाँ पे we don't know how many have been produced.
Right.
Then it's talking about the number of, so essentially, so you essentially mix up sales and copies per.
या या मेरे को समझ नहीं आता असाइन वो एक्स कहाँ पे असाइन करना है और 2500 कहाँ पे असाइन करना है उसमें एज आई केप्ट रीडिंग मोर आई गॉट मोर कंफ्यूज
तो पहले यार मतलब दिस इज अ कॉमन प्रॉब्लम कि अगर आप पहले उसको समझ नहीं आया तो वहीं पे रुक के उसके साथ टाइम स्पेंड करो rather than की मूविंग अहेड.
राइट
You can, but this is a normal thing for people. For me, this is a an exceptional thing.
या
For me, the norm is to stop where I've not understood and spend time to understand it. Exceptional cases that if I have spent enough time still not making sense, then naturally I'll move on.
या
But the norm for me is to stop there and spend time to understand. So by June 2000, this book had sold a total of these many. So by this time, so x plus 1.52x is equal to 3843. This is what we are being told. Now in data insights, you have access to calculators. You can actually calculate the exact number. Okay, it will come to some 1500 something. Okay, you can actually use a calculator to do this calculation 3843 by 2.52. Okay. Uh, in my mental math, I know it's going to be around 1500 plus something. Because I know that 1500 into 2.5 is 1500 plus 1500 plus 750. So this is 3750. So this is my mental calculation. But even if can't do it, you can just use a calculator. In 2000, this book was cited in an influential paper subsequently for the period. So now we are talking about June 2000 to June 2005. For this 5-year period, the sales were double the sales for the previous 5 years. So 1.52 ka double. So this is, which is twice or whatever that is. Okay.
Yeah.
So then the question is, you have to select the number of books that most closely approximates the total sales for period June 90 to 1919 to 1995, which is X. So in the first, you have to select X, which will come out to be 1530. And then you have to select for June 2000 to June 2005, which is going to be 3.04x. So almost 3 times this. That's going to be this.
Yeah. Got it.
So your problem was just mixing up sales and
Yeah.
production costs?
So I got this part till x plus 1.25 x is equal to 3843. But then I mixed up like copies and sales. So मुझे और confusion होने लग गया कि क्या exactly question मांग रहा है.
ठीक है, तो it's a comprehension problem. You're
Yeah,
mixing up production and sales.
yeah. That's why I was thinking कि ये mind में ये भी आया था कि price of each book तो दिया नहीं है. So could there be an assumption that the price of the book is assumed same throughout? Something like that. But all irrelevant thing.
ठीक है, हाँ, तो मतलब ठीक है, प्राइस नहीं दिया हुआ, दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. सो इफ देयर इज अ कहीं पे अगर प्राइस की बात आएगी, देन यू हैव टू थिंक अबाउट इट. एंड तो कहीं पे प्राइस की बात आएंगे.
Hmm.
ठीक है. Any questions, any doubts from anybody? And if you got it wrong or if you spent a lot of time, you stuck somewhere, can you share where exactly you were stuck or where exactly you went wrong?
So essentially, 2500 was not needed only initially, right? Like it doesn't contribute to us solving the
Yeah.
equation.
Yeah. So it's like a
That's
real life scenario. It's like a real life scenario in which you will have some irrelevant data. So you
Yeah,
need to figure out which data you need to pay attention to, which data to ignore.
right.
That will be the case in many other data insights questions.
Hmm.
Yeah, Abhishek.
So, sir, I was not understanding, I was not comprehending properly after that what's the meaning of the second line statement? Total sales for the period from June 1995 to 2000. But when you started discussing question, when you were about to start discussing the question, I got that how it has to be solved. So
तो पहले क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी?
I was not understanding. I was not comprehending what this meaning was. The second statement. Second statement क्या कह रही है? Total sales for the period इतना. तो मुझे समझ नहीं आया था what 52% was representing पिछले साल का 52%. So I was thinking कि 2500 copies ही बिकी है. So I thought कि 2500 कॉपीज बिकी हैं तो उसका 52% इज लाइक 1300। 1300 फिर मैंने ऐड किया, मैं कहा 3800, ये कह रहे 10 साल में पूरे 3800 बिकी है। तो फिर आई गॉट कंफ्यूज देयर।
अच्छा, ऐसे ही, ओके,
Yeah.
ठीक है। तो वो पर वो इतना गलत क्यों समझ में आ रहा था, मतलब why did you have those comprehension issues?
So I think I was not, I was not writing with a paper and pen side by side. Which,
नहीं, that cannot be the cause of it.
no,
तो
sir. So,
वो तो
so
एड आपने नहीं लिया, that's fine, you did not take the aid of a pen and paper, but so without taking aid also you can get it right. So why were you sort of comprehending it wrong?
I don't know, sir. पता नहीं. Look,
Okay.
I should have. I don't know, sir. जब मैंने paper pen when I started doing with that, then I really get what the question was saying.
तो पहले आपने वही, अगेन यू डिड नॉट रियलाइज कि वो पहले प्रोडक्शन की बात कर रहा है, फिर टोटल सेल्स की बात कर रहा है, तो
Total
आप
sales. Yes,
प्रोडक्शन का ही 52% निकाल रहे थे।
yes, sir.
ओके, ठीक है, गुड। anybody else wants to share? Same mistake थी या some other mistake, या you were stuck somewhere else? And Tushar, you gave the answer almost within 30 seconds or something. Have you solved this earlier, or how did
No,
you?
no. Actually, I started solving before you asked us to.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see. Okay. ठीक. Okay, cool. So let's do another question. Again, we'll take 5 minutes. So take your time. You can share your answer as a direct message to me. So I've gotten 4 answers, out of which one is correct. So you have about 90 more seconds, then we will start. If people have already submitted, want to review, you can do that. Okay, time's up. Again. So we'll go sentence by sentence. Uh, would one of you like to go over this with me?
So,
Yeah, Kancha, sure. You want to go ahead?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
At Company X, a new firm which is at present devoted entirely to the design of software applications. Um, so there's a company which is devoted to designing some software. All employees are required to agree to the following policy. So every employee is required to agree to a policy.
Right,
Any idea or intervention conceived of by employees that is related to companies' X's past, present, or future business. So any idea related conceived by an employee related to company X is owned exclusively by company X. So any idea that any employee has that is related to company X, be it past, present, future, is owned by company X, not the individual employee.
right,
Thus, if a company X employee has conceived of an idea or invention during his or her employment with company X related in any manner of company X's business, that intervention is owned by company X. So this means that if any employee while working with company X has made any invention that is related to the business of company X, that invention is owned by the company.
right,
The employee may not use or exploit the idea or invention for his or her personal benefit.
right,
So total ownership is with the company and they can't use their own invention about
right,
company business.
right,
An employee of company X has recently sold a children's novel to a publisher. Company X has claimed ownership of the novel on the basis of the stated policy, and the employee intends to dispute the company's claim. So
right,
the employee has made some children's book publishing,
right,
has sold children's novel to a publisher, and the company is claiming rights, saying, stating the policy above. Uh,
right,
and it's stated that the employee wants to dispute the company's claim.
correct.
Now, the main error, like the main confusion I got was while reading this statement. If one, then a successful defense of the company's claimed ownership rights would likely include a statement that too. So, what I got was, if there is uh something happening, some situation out of the following options, uh then a successful defense of the company's claimed ownership rights, which I understood to be, um it would be like a defense for the employee. So the employee would say something that would defend uh the policy, like that would go against the policy and prove that he has the right.
Defense of the employee.
Yeah, defense for the employee.
वो the defense of the company's claimed ownership rights बोल रहा है.
बट वही मेरे को ये रीड करते समय काफी कंफ्यूजन हुआ कि ये डिफेंस का मीनिंग क्या होगा एग्जैक्टली यहाँ पे इन
डिफेंस तो डिफेंस ही होता है, मतलब ये डिफेंडिंग, मतलब व्हाट डज दैट मीन? डिफेंस का जो मतलब होता है वही मतलब होता है. और डिफेंस किसका है, दैट इज द डाउट यू हैव.
हाँ राइट डिफेंस
तो दिया
किसका
हुआ
है.
है डिफेंस ऑफ द कंपनीज क्लेम्ड ओनरशिप राइट्स, not defense of the employees ownership rights.
मेरे को डिफेंस ऑफ और फॉर में लाइक कंफ्यूजन, लाइक मीनिंग क्या है, तो मेरे को इतना लगा कि डिफेंस ऑफ क्लेम्ड ओनरशिप राइट्स मींस इन माय हेड इट मेंट दैट डिफेंस ऑफ मतलब इन द डिफेंस की कंपनी की ये पॉलिसी गलत है and they can't claim ownership rights over the
If I
novel.
say defense of my rights, so you will think if somebody is arguing against my rights and that's that person's defense. If I
I
said
uh,
defense of my rights का क्या मतलब होगा कि somebody is arguing against me and I'm talking about that person's defense.
defense of my right would mean that someone's arguing against me, I am defending, like I'm supporting my right.
हाँ तो defense of my rights mean defense of my rights, right? Not defense of that person who is against my rights.
Right.
But this is what you're thinking in this case.
हाँ मुझे नहीं लगा ये इसका मीनिंग ये होगा कि डिफेंस फॉर द कंपनी.
पर
आई
ये तो आप
फेल्ट
कह ही रहे हो यहाँ पे, तो अब you're very clear. यहाँ पे तो you are very clear. Defense of my rights means if somebody is arguing against my rights, then it's a I'm defending my rights. This is what you're saying, right?
yeah.
So you are clear with the meaning of this
Yes.
structure. So
Yes.
it's same structure.
सेम स्ट्रक्चर बट वाइल सॉल्विंग मेरे को नहीं लग रहा था कि वो करेक्ट है. मेरे
हाँ
को
क्यों नहीं
लग रहा.
लग रहा? क्योंकि ये तो बस माई की जगह ये आ गया और तो कुछ नहीं हो. ठीक है, आपको नहीं लग रहा था वो तो आई अंडरस्टैंड कि आपके दिमाग में उल्टा आ रहा था.
हाँ
बट क्यों आ रहा था? दैट्स व्हाट आई एम, बिकॉज एट वन लेवल यू अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस कंस्ट्रक्शन. ऐसा
आई
नहीं है
अंडरस्टूड
इसको.
द मीनिंग but it was going ulta because I think I was still thinking about the previous statement where they say that the employee intends to dispute the company's claim. So
ठीक है.
that that was there in my mind कि okay statement probably कुछ ऐसा ही होगा कि where I have to uh, support the employee and not the company as such. So while I was reading the state, I took I remember like मेरे को confusion हो रहा था, but then I reread it and still वही thought था मेरे दिमाग में कि defense कर रहे of the company's claimed owner. So they defending. I should have used the word defending in my mind because defending the company's claimed ownership rights would have made me change my answer. Defense of or defense for, probably my mind got confused and the last statement as well.
Okay. तो आप कह रहे हो कि आप given the previous statement you were expecting this statement to be defense of the employee.
Yeah.
So then you disregarded what the sentence is saying and just went with what you were expecting it to say.
I wouldn't say disregard, but my brain interpreted defense of the company's claimed ownership as that. I don't know why that is, but वही हुआ मेरे दिमाग से. मतलब I didn't even realize that it was wrong, and I reread the statement 2 times.
नहीं नहीं, वो तो ठीक है, मतलब देखो वो तो क्लियर है कि आपने आपके दिमाग ने उसको गलत पढ़ा है।
Hmm.
तो ये पूछ रहे हैं कि क्यों पढ़ा है, राइट? तो एक आपने एक्सप्लेनेशन दी कि क्योंकि पिछली स्टेटमेंट वाज अबाउट sort of the employee defending himself,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that's what I'm saying, because previous statement के basis पे you are expecting the defense of the employee, so you went with that expectation and disregarded what the sentence actually meant,
Yeah.
which is also a common comprehension problem. Ki people are reading text and then they're expecting the text to say something, and the text says actually something else, but they still read it what they were expecting it to say.
Right.
ठीक है, तो जैसे वो पिछले क्वेश्चन में भी इट्स ऑल्सो सिमिलर मिस्टेक कि वहां पे वो पहले प्रोडक्शन की बात कर रहा है, बट नहीं लाइक प्रोडक्शन की बात कर रहा है, एंड देन इट सडनली शिफ्ट्स टू सेल्स, बट यू आर नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग इट टू शिफ्ट टू सेल्स, यू आर स्टिल लाइक कि प्रोडक्शन के नंबर्स दिए हुए हैं,
Hmm.
यू
Right.
गॉट थिंकिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन,
Right.
even in real life you know कि production and sales are two different things.
Right.
So this is essentially which could be a key learning, and then you sort of have to consciously implement it. If something is different, it is different.
Hmm.
And then you become aware, yeah, but my mind has a tendency to just superimpose my expectation on the text.
Hmm. Right.
So it's saying we are a successful defense of the company's rights. Would includes a statement that, and if part we don't know, but actually before moving here, I will spend a little time here and try to understand कि हाँ वो children's novel उसने लिखा है, actually वो employee भी है, and given what it is saying, I would expect कि हाँ given the policy, the company should be owning it if the company plans to get into books and all that.
Okay.
क्योंकि उसने लिखा है कि the any idea or invention conceived by that is related to company's past, तो हमें पता नहीं है, तो past में रहा हो, पर books कह रहा
Hmm.
present तो नहीं है, because right now it's entirely into the design of software applications. So right now this children novel is not related to the present business, but it
Yeah.
could be related to the past or future business. So
Yeah.
in that way, the company can argue that I own it, not the employee. Okay, so I'll actually do this assimilation before moving here.
Okay. I never thought of it from that point.
I always do this. मतलब जितना भी मेरे पास आता है text, I first assimilate it well, relate it well, then I move on. This is the basic process of reading or solving any question, not just two-part analysis. ठीक है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे उसने ऊपर पॉलिसी दी थी that in this case the company will own the ownership, right? And now there is a dispute. So I think about it, given the policy, क्या होना चाहिए? And then I'll see, अच्छा फ्यूचर में अगर वो करेगा देन, या फ्यूचर या पास्ट में अगर बुक पब्लिशिंग में था द कंपनी, देन द कंपनी कैन really claim it. But here I don't know. So if one, it's completely empty. So I don't know. If something, then the successful defense of the company's rights would include a statement. So here actually I have no idea, because पता ही नहीं है इसके बाद क्या आने वाला है. But I know whatever understanding I have. But this structure I'll be open to. I am not already expecting if के बाद क्या आएगा, then के बाद आएगा, because it's really open here. So then I'll go to the options, and I'll tell you how, because I actually just solved it for the first time just a few minutes ago. Okay, I can tell you how I went about it. So if then it talks about mere use of resources in an activity is sufficient grounds for regarding that activity as related to company X's business. So it's now talking about use of company's resources as sufficient grounds for calling that activity as related to company's business. But the passage was nowhere talking about using of company's resources. It was just about if whatever you're thinking or conceiving or inventing, if that is related to my current business, I just own it. Passage was not really about using companies' resources. So it's a new thing. So when I read it, I was like, I don't know how it is even related, where to put it. The first two are just the opposite of each other. So when I read these two, I had no idea what to do with them. Then I continued to read. So it says the company wrote the novel on a computer owned by the company. So again, the employee is using some resources of the company. But again, the passage is nowhere about that. So I just moved on expecting to say something related to what I've read. Then it says the employee has received a significant amount of money. So that is also not related to what is given in the passage. Significant amount hai kya hai. It's whether it's significant or insignificant, the point is the company owns it if you have conceived of that idea during employment. So this was very relevant to me. The company has plans to expand into publishing. Because as I said, I was expecting it to say, अगर future में भी उनका plan है, then it owns the right. Then it can really claim that I have already stated in the policy that if you conceive of some idea that is related to my future business, then I'll own it, not you. So I thought that, okay, this makes sense. This is related to the passage. So if the company has plans to expand into publishing, then a successful defense. So actually, the successful defense उसका हो ही चुका है because the company may just re-emphasize its policy then, right? Because if the company has plans to expand into publishing, then according to the policy, the company will own the rights. In that case, the successful defense would just be saying that, yeah, this is already stated, the employer has signed it, but there is no such thing here, right? So I was like, okay, E makes sense, and I can put E in place of this one, but then there is no then part, which is a common occurrence in two part when the two part question is like if then. You may find something which is very relevant for one of the two parts, but you may not find the corresponding then part or if part.
Right.
Then you have to really see, okay, if something else makes sense. So when I read this, this made a lot of sense connected with my understanding, but there is no corresponding then part. So I thought, okay, let me think of something else. So this was not relevant. And then I could connect it that this is also using companies' resources. And this is also talking about using companies' resources. Then I thought about it. Okay. So if the employer wrote the novel on a computer owned by the company, ठीक है, अगर employee ने computer owned by the company use किया है, and if I say mere use of company's resources is sufficient grounds for regarding that activity as related to company X business. Okay. So अगर if the employee has used company's resources, and then if I also say that the mere use is sufficient grounds, not sufficient method, that will go against the company. But if I say the mere use of the resources sufficient grounds for regarding that activity as related to company X's business, then given the policy, the company will own the ownership right of that. Right? So if I say that this is the if part, the employee has used company's resources, and then using company's resources is sufficient to argue that the activity is related to company X's business, which means company will own the ownership rights, then this is going to be a successful defense. So this is how I went about it. So this is the answer, C and then A. Why what level question?
So just generally, for my knowledge.
I don't have that tab open.
Okay.
I think it's a hard question at least.
Okay.
Any questions, doubts in this?
Sir, I got the resources part, but and my error was in my understanding of the word defense of, right? But I realized that I never really analyzed like or put importance on the past, present, future part. So I totally rejected the option of the company had plans of
Okay.
expanding publishing.
Okay.
That was another error that I noticed. Why I
Okay.
told it.
Yes. Hmm. So others who got this wrong, can some of you share where you went wrong? That will help us understand the sources of the mistakes. Yeah, Abhishek.
Sir, I also got, I was like, I understood the question, I understood everything. I was confused that because nowhere in the argument it was mentioned that the company's resources, about the resources.
Yeah.
So where they went. So the first thing I clicked was the company has plans to expand into publishing.
Right.
So it it directly correlated with the future businesses.
Right. Right.
And then I thought कि यही होना चाहिए. So I marked this first.
वो तो ठीक है उसके बाद.
उसके बाद then I got like I was I was thinking कि अब इसके बाद तो कुछ हो नहीं रहा. तो मुझे लगा कि ई तो ठीक है ही है.
अच्छा.
I made up my mind कि ई तो ठीक है ही है because future expand into publishing and future businesses are correlated.
Right.
तो मतलब मैंने ई को सिलेक्ट करके फिर सेकंड का ए पार्ट कर दिया.
Yeah. So this is a mistake. ठीक है. तो वो तो मेरे साथ भी था that of course I could sense that he really fits in with the passage, but there is no then part then. And this will happen in a lot of two-part questions. Uh, Whenever there is two parts, the two parts have to sort of fit in. Whenever a lot of times the two-part questions will have a relationship between the two parts. You need to find an option that satisfies the relationship. So one part may fit in with the information, but may not be satisfying the relationship, which is the
Oh,
case here.
yeah, right, sir.
Hmm. Okay. Others, can some of you share where you went wrong? Yeah, Shivangi.
So basically, I also went for the last option and I had sent it as my answer as well. The company has plans to expand into publishing because it looked like it is a future plan.
Yep.
But for me, what happened, I was very convinced that this is the answer. I think I kind of didn't even read the other two properly. But after sending it, I was just reading the whole sentence. If the company has plans to expand into publishing, then this is the may include a statement that the use of company's resources. Then I started thinking it's not using resources, and then
Correct.
I read the other two options properly and ended up changing my answer. So I also was convinced initially, and if it was in paper, I would have just like in the exam, I would have just marked and gone ahead. I just
Yep.
got the time to reread and just the sentence and got it correct.
Okay. I see. Hmm. Others? Anyone else would like to share where exactly you went wrong? Tushar, I think you marked exactly in the opposite order.
Yes, sir. I mean, initially I was going with the first one being C and the second one being A, which is actually the correct answer. But yeah, I mean, after your explanation, this definitely makes more sense.
Hmm. अभी मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ तो मुझे तो ए और सी भी सही ऑर्डर लग रहा है. I don't think I never even considered that. by chance ऐसे ही पढ़ रहा था ऊपर नीचे से ऊपर because I started with E, so it's going in that order. Now when I read A and C, this also looks fine. I need to think about it. कैसे क्या problem is. So if mere use is sufficient grounds for regarding that activity as related to company's business. अगर सिर्फ use कर रहे हो, this is enough for calling it related, then a successful defense would likely successful defense would likely include. हाँ नहीं नहीं उल्टा नहीं जा पाऊंगा यार,
How?
क्योंकि मतलब यार क्योंकि कोई भी रिसोर्स
Likely include. Oh, or that is a fact.
नहीं 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 वो नहीं 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 वो रीजन नहीं, होल्ड ऑन, लाइकली हटा भी दो तब तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं जा पाऊंगा, लाइकली के साथ भी नहीं जा पाऊंगा। सो नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अगर इफ मैं बोलूं कि कोई भी रिसोर्सेज मेरे रिसोर्सेज यूज करना इज सफिशिएंट ग्राउंड्स
Hmm.
फॉर रिगार्डिंग दैट एक्टिविटी रिलेटेड, तो रिलेटेड होते ही वो ओनरशिप उसकी हो जाएगी, राइट? So let's say mere
Yeah.
use of resources is enough for the company to claim ownership. Then a successful defense would include a statement जिसमें उसने कोई भी रिसोर्स यूज किया हो, पेन यूज किया हो, कंप्यूटर यूज किया हो, इंटरनेट यूज किया हो, राइट?
Yeah.
तो देन हाउ कैन आई से कि would likely include a statement कि उसने कंप्यूटर ही यूज किया है? तो कुछ भी बोल सकती है ना कंपनी। फिर तो बस कंपनी को ही बोलना है कोई रिसोर्स यूज किया है इसने मेरा, राइट?
Okay. Hmm.
हाउ कैन वी बी श्योर दैट मोर देन 50% चांस है कंप्यूटर कोई पिक करेगी वो,
Hmm.
राइट?
Hmm.
मेक सेंस?
Yeah. Yeah.
तो वो थोड़ा ज्यादा ओपन हो जाएगा कि फिर रिसोर्सेज में कोई भी रिसोर्स को पिक कर सकते हैं, आई कैन नॉट से लाइकली देन विल से दिस, राइट?
Hmm. Yeah, sir.
ओके, ठीक है। एनीवन एल्स वांट्स टू शेयर कहाँ प्रॉब्लम आई, वेर यू वेंट रॉन्ग?
Yeah, I want to.
यस,
So I choose for the first one I choose P, and for the second one I choose E.
ओके।
So what I interpreted is that mere use of company access resources in an activity is not sufficient ground for regarding that activity as related to company access business. So what I interpreted is that if the employee says that the publishing business is not related to company access business currently, so maybe the company X can put a successful defense that the company X plans to go into the publishing business in future. So how
ये
I
इसको बी को इंटरप्रेट ऐसे कैसे कर रहे हो कि राइट नाउ कंपनी तो पब्लिशिंग में है नहीं, ये तो
so
ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेज की बात कर रहा है।
yeah, but I focused on the last part for regarding that activity as is not sufficient ground for regarding that activity as related
ठीक है,
to
तो फिर ऐसे स्ट्रक्चर ही है कि एक्स इज नॉट सफिशिएंट फॉर वाई,
yeah
और आप कह रहे हो कि स्टेटमेंट कह रही है कि समथिंग अबाउट जस्ट वाई, यू आर कंप्लीटली डिसरिगार्डिंग एक्स।
yeah
स्टेटमेंट ये है कि नॉट सफिशिएंट फॉर वाई।
Yeah, I think I didn't focus on the first part, mere use of company access resources. And after your explanation, I got it actually.
ओके आई सी, ठीक है, बट यार थैंक्स फॉर शेयरिंग हाउ you went about it, the kind of mistake you made. So yeah,
Yeah,
this could also be a mistake. So again, these are all, I think, variations of comprehension problems that I see. I think Tushar's problem was more like a reasoning kind of problem. He to really visualize कि हाँ अगर resources and then it could be any resource. But otherwise it seems more like बाकी सबकी comprehension problems ही I think. So again, it's not helpful enough to just say कैसे मेरी comprehension problem है. So once you identify कि हाँ comprehension problems हैं, then it's like hunting down exactly कौन सी problems आती हैं and then sort of trying to get to the source and fix that. Or if even if you cannot get to the source of your problem, then to just see patterns in your mistakes and come up with certain strategies to avoid those mistakes, or just remain careful about making those kinds of mistakes. Okay. Okay, so let's do this one now.
Sir, I just joined after a 3-minute break. My network was unstable. Abby, we just got to the next question, right?
Yep. Okay. Just 2 responses so far. Okay, 1 more minute, then we'll discuss it. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, anyone would like to sort of discuss this along with me? No one?
Yes, sir, I can.
Anyone else? Since you have discussed one question.
Yes, CJ. Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
Yeah. Okay, great. Kushbul. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, we need to find the greatest possibility for
So
two
no, we'll
events.
go statement by statement.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, let's start from the beginning.
Okay. So Rashika is beginning a new job in HR, and she expects that she will be assigned to several of the many HR work groups. Okay. And she has been told that there is a probability of 1 by 2, 50% that she will be assigned to the recruitment group. Okay, so we can mention RG probability is 1 by 2, and that there is a probability of 3 by 4 that she will be assigned to the new technology work groups. So there are two kind of groups given, and separate probabilities of assigning to those respective groups are given. Okay, and she has no other information.
Can she be assigned to both the groups?
Yes.
Can she be assigned to none of the groups?
Mm, to assign to several, she has been there is a yes, she can, because it mentioned expects. So there is a possibility that she, uh, I mean, none of the group is.
Given the probabilities, is it possible that she is not assigned to any of these two groups?
Sorry, it is possible.
Possible. Okay. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Agree.
Next, she has no other information about the probabilities of various possible assignment, or whether her assignment to one of those group affect her chances of assignment to the other. So basically, she doesn't know the overlap between the two. I mean, if one is assigned, what is the chance of getting it assigned to other or no? So
Yeah.
this information is not given.
And she could be assigned to other groups also,
Yes, for
right?
both group as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so basically, we need to do select the greatest probability for both assignment. The greatest probability, the compatible with the given probabilities that Rashika will be assigned to both the recruitment groups and the. So basically, we need to find the greatest possibility when she will be assigned to the both groups.
What is the greatest possibility that she'll be assigned to both the groups, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And second is select for the least probability for both assignment. The least probability with the given probabilities that she will be assigned to both these groups. Basically, we need to find probability of A and B greatest and probability of A and B least.
Correct. एक मैक्सिमाइज करना है हमें
हाँ,
और एक मिनिमाइज करना है
right.
और इंडिविजुअल प्रोबेबिलिटीज हमें दी हुई हैं, राइट? वन
Yes.
फोर,
P of A is 1/2 and P of B is 3/4.
करेक्ट.
Okay. So for greatest probability, what we can understand is, uh, let's say PA is 1/2 and another would be 3/4. So the maximum overlap between these two can become 1/2 only.
Okay. You're saying maximum overlap could be
Because maximum cannot be greater than the least of any of these two.
right. तो
Because we
अगर ये
need to do
true है तो
intersection.
हाँ राइट. सो मैक्सिमम मतलब मैक्सिमम दोनों हो वो तो लिमिटेड ही है क्योंकि एक अकेले का इसका चांस 50% द टाइम तो होता ही नहीं है,
Hmm.
राइट? ये doesn't happen 50% of the time. It happens only 50% of the times, right?
Right.
So naturally, the probability of A and B both happening cannot be more than 50,
Yes.
right? Which is 1/2. I agree with the rationale, right?
Okay.
Then
And for least, I'm guessing, I'm not sure, but least we can think of, uh, let's say, if any of the event probability for any one of the event occur would be one, right? And out of that, if let's say one, I'm not sure how to put in words, but it is like 1/2 and 3/4 ka least would be the subtraction of that, and we can derive with the formula also. I mean, P of A plus P of B minus P and
minus
हाँ, minus P A and B.
A and B क्या है ये निकालना है.
हाँ, so basically PA is 1/2.
तो इसका क्या मतलब this is equal to what?
Probability of P, A or B.
ठीक है. Then
Okay, so PA is 1/2 plus 3/4, and PA and B is I'm not sure, but because we have derived maximum, so P, A, and B can be one, but I'm not sure the
one.
rationale for that.
P and B is one. You're saying
Or maybe I have reversed this. P, A, and B is equal to P, A plus P, B minus P, A or B, because probability for any of the event occur is one, right? So ideally it should be one, it should be here, P, A or B at this place. Left side, right.
this is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, then
So so this is one,
one. Why one?
because for any event to occur, the probability can be one, either one A can occur or B can occur. So that probability would be 1 only.
One of them will definitely occur.
I mean, if any of the event, yes, yes.
Why will one of them definitely occur?
Then that is reverse of what I said, because I said that 0 cannot be the possibility, but I think 0 is not the possibility here, because she has to be assigned to any of the group here.
She has to be assigned, but where is it given that she has to be assigned to one of the groups?
I mean, it is subject to interpretation, because it mentioned that she expects to be assigned to several of.
To several, that's fine. She expects to be assigned to several. But necessary that one of the several has to be one of these two. Okay. Okay. So Kushbu, you can think about it. If you have some new ideas, you can let me know.
Yep.
So yeah, Samyadeep.
Yeah, so the probability of A or B will be less than equal to 1. So since we have to minimize this P, A, and B, so we have to maximize P, A, or B, because since it's been subtracted, so it has to be maximized in order to get the minimized value of P and A, P, A, and B. So that's why we'll consider 1.
Okay. So yeah, so P, A, or B, essentially any probability has to be less than equal to 1. But since we are trying to minimize this, we would want to maximize this. And the maximum possible value of P, A, or B is 1 in this case. So we'll take it to be 1 because we are trying to minimize it. So we arrive at, I think, 1/4, which is the answer. So this is a very, I think, a little technical way. I would share how I thought about it, and that's a more non-technical way. I'll have to think about it, how to communicate it to you. But this is that this is also a correct way to go about it. Yeah, Kancha.
So I from the statement I got the idea that it could be any of the other two as well. So it could there are several work groups, right? So it's not necessary that she will be a part of these two. There could be like 10 groups,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So the least probability to be assigned to both could be 0, like should be 0, right? Because she could be assigned to 5 of the 10 and not include these two.
Least probability that she'll be assigned to both of these groups. We are not talking, we are talking about probability. We are not talking about, so let's say if the probability is 1/4, does it mean that she'll be assigned to both of these groups for sure?
No,
नहीं ना, तो possibility always exists कि दोनों में से किसी को भी assign ना हो.
right,
तो वो तो अगर आप probability 0.99 भी कर दोगे, that possibility still exists.
right.
That should not be assigned to both of these groups because there is still a 0.01 chance. But given that that possibility exists, doesn't mean the probability is 0. And this is also something where Khushbu was getting confused. Possibility definitely exists that she may not be assigned to any of these two groups. But does that make the probability 0 that she'll be assigned to these two groups? So for example,
Yeah.
is there a possibility that I'll score 605 on the GMAT. Possibility हो सकती है, होगी. I am just out of my mind. Okay. But does that mean that the probability of my scoring a 735 or more than 705 is 0? No. There is a very high chance that I score more than 705. Still the probability, there's still the chance to score 605 also exists. Right?
Yeah. But I can't wrap my head around this because I thought कि possibility पे ही हम ये least probability तो at least we would calculate based on possibility.
नहीं तो least probability means if there is a range, कि probability can also vary. तो उसमें से हमें देखना least possible क्या है which will agree with the given constraints. तो अगर आप कह रहे हो 0 probability है कि दोनों असाइनमेंट्स होंगे, तो आप कह रहे हो इट इज पॉसिबल कि देयर कैन एग्जिस्ट, मतलब सिनेरियो जहाँ पे गिवन द कंस्ट्रेंट्स, यहाँ पे पॉसिबल ही नहीं है दोनों का होना, पर वो कहाँ दे रहा है आपको पॉसिबल ही नहीं है.
So they're just saying that she has no other info about the probabilities of the various possible assignments.
राइट.
हाँ, उसके बेसिस पे ये थॉट की लीस्ट प्रोबेबिलिटी अगर होगी तो इट कुड बी 0 because I mean least in my head was like least, I don't know.
हाँ, तो आप कह रहे हो प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ बोथ थिंग्स हैपनिंग, हो सकता है कि दोनों ही ना हो, राइट.
हाँ.
चांस एग्जिस्ट,
Yeah,
राइट.
yeah,
तो विच मीन्स कि द प्रोबेबिलिटी विल नेवर बी 1, क्योंकि चांस उसके उल्टे का एग्जिस्ट करता है,
yes,
राइट.
yep,
दैट कैन बी द आर्गुमेंट कि दोनों ऐसा हो सकता है कि दोनों ही ना हो, तो द
हाँ,
प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ दोनों होने की कैन नेवर बी 1.
yep,
बट नाउ व्हाट द रीजनिंग यू आर टेकिंग इज कि ऐसा हो सकता है कि दोनों ना हो, तो दैट्स व्हाई प्रोबेबिलिटी कैन बी 0. दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट लॉजिक.
how can I correct it then? मतलब क्या करेक्ट हो, कैसे होगा करेक्ट?
पहले बात तो आपको समझ आया कि क्या इनकरेक्ट है.
हाँ मतलब मेरा रीजनिंग कि चांस ही अगर 0 है,
चांस नहीं 0 है, आप कह रहे हो पॉसिबल है 0 होना.
हाँ पॉसिबिलिटी 0 है
नहीं
तो
पॉसिबल
प्रोबेबिलिटी भी
0,
0.
पॉसिबिलिटी एग्जिस्ट करती है कि दोनों ना हो,
हाँ,
राइट.
या
तो पॉसिबिलिटी एग्जिस्ट करती है कि दोनों ना हो, तो देयर इज सम चांस दोनों के ना होने के, मींस कि दोनों के होने के चांस कैन नेवर बी 1, राइट.
या
So basically what you are saying is it is possible that neither A nor B occurs, right?
राइट, या
So this से हम infer कर सकते हैं that probability that A and B both occur has to be less than 1.
Yep.
It cannot be 1 क्योंकि उल्टा केस एग्जिस्ट करता है.
राइट,
आप यहाँ से जा रहे हो कि क्योंकि पॉसिबल है, there is some chance कि दोनों ना हो. We are going to this कि P, A and B equal to 0. ये आप कह रहे हो ये भी फिर पॉसिबल.
हाँ P and A and B is equal to 0 is right, yeah.
This is correct. This is not correct. This shift is not correct.
Okay.
क्योंकि neither A nor B occur तो इस केस में भी होगा ना पॉसिबल. जब ये 0.99 है तो तब भी तो 0.01 चांस है ही है कि दोनों ही नहीं हो रहे हैं, दोनों नहीं हो रहे हैं, एक नहीं हो रहा है, दोनों ना होने के भी चांस तो रहेंगे उस केस में भी, अगर 0.99 भी होगा तो वी कैन नॉट मेक दिस शिफ्ट कि इसका होने का चांस भी है, पॉसिबल भी है, तो सडनली वो जीरो हो जाएगी। ठीक है, हो सकता है आपको भी outside the session also we need to think about it.
Yeah, I'll think about this.
Yeah, Khush, you are saying something?
Yeah, CJ, I understood the logic, but just want to understand if in the variation of the question there wouldn't be this least and greatest if we need to calculate actuals, and we'll not be able to calculate here, right? This P, A or B.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
So let me also share how I thought about it. And I'll have to think about how to explain that. Okay. So मेरे लिए क्या था कि so there is a recruitment group and there is a NTWG, right? So there is a 50% chance she'll, who is the person? Rashika will be assigned to this, right? So out of all the situations in the world, in 50% of the situations, she'll be assigned to RWG. And in this case, out of all the situations in the world, there are 75% situations where she'll be assigned to NTWG. So far, are you with me? Yes, no? That this is the meaning of,
Yes.
right? कि जितनी भी situations possible हैं दुनिया में, उसमें से 50% में she'll be assigned to RWG and 75% situations में NTWG में she'll be assigned. So far with me? ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ आई वाज विजुअलाइजिंग अंडरस्टैंडिंग इट। अब आगे ग्रेटेस्ट प्रोबेबिलिटी कि दोनों ही में असाइन हो जाए। तो मेरे लिए क्या था कि अगर इस 75 में से 50% जो सिचुएशंस हैं वो इन 50% से ओवरलैप कर जाएं, कि वो सेम ही सिचुएशंस हो, जिन सिचुएशंस में इसको RWG मिल रहा है राशिका को, उन्हीं सेम सिचुएशंस में उसको NTWG भी मिल रहा हो, right? So then essentially in 50% of the situations in the world, she's getting both, right? जो 50% सिचुएशंस लाइफ की हैं जिसमें उसको RWG मिल रहा था, उसी 50 में उसको NTWG भी मिल जाए, कोई, there is nothing stopping us from that, right? So then she will get in those 50% of the situations both. Right? और इससे ऊपर मैं जा नहीं सकता दोनों के लिए, क्योंकि RWG ही नहीं होगा 50% से ऊपर तो, right? Does this make sense? This is the way I maximized it. कि
Yeah.
दुनिया 50% situations में उसको RWG मिल रहा है, 75 में NTWG मिल रहा है. If I make those situations same, इसमें 50% में RWG मिल रहा था, उसमें NTWG भी दिलवा दूं, and the constraints allow me to do that, then on 50% of the situations she'll have both, and I cannot make it more than 50 because RWG है ही नहीं more than 50.
Yes.
Anyone? Anything not clear so far about maximization? All clear? No response? Clear?
Yes.
Not
Clear for me.
कांशा के लिए क्लियर है, बाकियों के लिए नॉट क्लियर?
It's clear.
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. ठीक है, थैंक यू। ठीक है, तो अब आ गए मिनिमाइज की बात। तो मिनिमाइज में मैं चाहूंगा सिचुएशंस अलग अलग रहें, राइट? कि जिस सिचुएशन में उसको आरडब्ल्यूजी मिलता है उस सिचुएशन में उसको एनडब्ल्यूजी ना मिले, राइट? तो 50% में उसको आरडब्ल्यूजी मिल रहा है और मैं चाहूंगा कि उसको 50% में एनटीडब्ल्यूजी ना मिले। इज इट पॉसिबल? तो जिन 50 में उसको लाइफ सिचुएशन में उसको आरडब्ल्यूजी मिल रहा है, इन दोज 50% सिचुएशंस आई विल नॉट वांट, इफ आई एम ट्राइंग टू मिनिमाइज रियली, कि मैं नहीं चाहता कोई भी सेम हो, तो आई विल वांट कि उन 50% सिचुएशंस में एनटीडब्ल्यूजी ना मिले। बट इज दैट पॉसिबल?
Yes, sir.
कैसे पॉसिबल है? अगर 50% सिचुएशंस में एनटीडब्ल्यूजी ना हुआ तो एनटीडब्ल्यूजी तो सिर्फ 50% में ही हो पाएगा।
हाँ,
पर वो तो दिया हुआ है 75% में शी इज बीइंग असाइन्ड टू एनटीडब्ल्यूजी, right? So let's say there are 100 situations. For simplicity's sake, let's take some numbers. What we are given is कि 50 situations में she'll be assigned RWG and 50 situations में no RWG. And again 100 situations में से 75 situations में, सिचुएशन तो सेम ही 100 ही है, राइट? जो भी लाइफ की सिचुएशंस है, एनटीडब्ल्यूजी, और 25 में नो एनटीडब्ल्यूजी। दिस इज व्हाट वी आर गिवन, राइट?
Yeah.
अब इफ आई एम ट्राइंग टू मिनिमाइज द ओवरलैप कि दोनों ना हो इकट्ठे, आई विल वांट कि ये ज्यादा से ज्यादा जिसमें जिसमें आरडब्ल्यूजी हो रहा है उसमें एनटीडब्ल्यूजी ना हो, राइट?
right.
एनटीडब्ल्यूजी उन्हीं केस में हो जहां पे आरडब्ल्यूजी नहीं हो रहा,
Hmm.
राइट? आई विल वांट टू सेंड मैक्सिमम ऑफ दीज हियर,
Yeah.
बट मैं आई कैन नॉट सेंड ऑल 75 क्योंकि यहाँ तो 50 है। आई कैन ओनली सेंड 50 मैक्सिमम हियर।
Yep.
तो एनटीडब्ल्यूजी उसमें हो जाएगा जिसमें आरडब्ल्यूजी नहीं हो रहा, और बाकी तो 25 इसी में हो पाएगा,
हाँ.
राइट?
Yeah.
So there has to be at least 25 overlap out of 100, which is 1 by 4. And you can also think it the other way around also. Instead of thinking like this, you can think कि मुझे इन लोगों को RWG को NTWG वाले जगह पे नहीं भेजना जहाँ पे NTWG हो रहा है. So I will want to send these RWG to no NTWG situations. But again, I can send only 25. Right? बाकी तो 25 have to be here. So there will always be at least the minimum 25 overlaps given the constraints. That is why the answer is 25 by 100, which is 1 by 4. But this is how I think about it without formulas.
Yeah, so even I thought about it without formulas also. Formulas तो मेरे दिमाग में आए नहीं थे इसमें. But I think I got your line of reasoning. But for me, it happened that way कि if it's written both का साथ में हो रहा है, both are happening simultaneously. So I thought ये वाला overlap वाला situation consider ही नहीं करूँगी. Basically the same error that I
Yeah,
told you पहले. So
correct,
I got to the reasoning कि zero ही हो जाएगा.
correct. ठीक है. Somebody raised a hand. Tushar, did you raise?
Yes, sir, I did. So I was saying, we can also solve it using Venn diagram, maybe.
हाँ, इसी को वेन डायग्राम से भी रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything not clear? Any questions, doubts? No questions, doubts? Okay, so let's do one more question. That will be our last question for the day. Yeah. So again, you'll have 5 minutes. Then we'll solve it. Okay, 30 seconds to go. Okay. Hmm. Gotten 3 answers. All 3 is the same. We get to know whether they are right or not. Okay, so this I'll do myself. So a growing company seeks a new CEO. So the company is seeking a new CEO. The company which has always been led by members of one family. When I read this, led by members of one family, I think that possibly they are the CEO has always been uh, from this family. It's not very clear led by members of one family, but I think it's probably the CEO. But I'll remain open. Could be in general led board level. I don't know. So this is the confusion I have, but I'll keep it open. So the company wants to make a change in order to generate revenues quickly. So they want to make a change to the current CEO. And the objective is to generate revenues quickly, possibly by hiring a. So this is a possible scenario. They are thinking of hiring a famous CEO. Okay. Promoting from within has been a successful strategy for the company. So now they are hiring, thinking of what sort of there is an option of hiring a famous CEO. So possibly from outside, right? Because you already have a CEO. So you're trying to replace it. So naturally, if you're thinking of a famous CEO, that logically seems to be from outside the company. But now we are saying promoting from within. So sort of you make it, so you promote somebody to, let's say, become a CEO. That has been a successful strategy, yielding many of its most effective high-level managers. So promoting from within has been a successful strategy. We have had some very effective, most effective high-level managers. It doesn't really directly hint at the CEO, but it says that it has been a successful strategy to promote from within. Okay. However, many companies are now hiring famous CEOs. Many others are hiring famous CEOs these days who are famous because they have impeccable qualifications, so really perfect qualifications and experience running many different kinds of companies. So this is what many companies are sort of doing, that they are hiring famous CEOs, and these famous CEOs are CEO famous because really perfect qualifications and experience running many different kinds of companies. So this is what we are given. Essentially, the situation is that a company is seeking to hire a CEO. So there is a contemplation to hire a famous CEO from outside or to promote from within. Promoting from within has been successful. But many companies are now hiring from outside. Okay. This is what I've been told. On the basis of the information, select famous CEO for the principle that, if accepted, would most strongly imply that the company should hire a famous CEO. So in this column, I need to select a statement which is a principle that would imply that the company should hire a famous CEO. Okay. And select promote from within, again a principle that would imply that company should promote someone within the company to the position of the CEO. Okay, so we're looking for statements, one that would support that the company should hire a famous CEO, and the other statement which supports that the company should promote from within. Okay, make only 2 selections, which is fine. So let's go statement by statement. CEOs have a responsibility to ensure that the companies they head remain profitable. Yeah, but that would apply to both the CEOs, and we haven't given any difference between famous CEOs and CEOs from within the company on the basis of this responsibility. I'll reject it. A company should not dispense with the current strategy unless that strategy has proven to be unsuccessful. Okay, so this aligns with promoting from within. We know that it has been successful strategy. So in that case, the company should not dispense with this strategy because it has been still successful. In that case, the company should promote from within. So this supports promoting from within. This would very strongly imply that the company should promote from within. So I got an answer for this column. A company should choose as CEO the candidate who has the most experience. Again, the most experience could be the famous CEO or could be from within, right? We are talking about the number of years of experience. That doesn't help us go anyway. A company will often see a quick rise in revenue immediately after hiring a CEO with experience in various industries. Okay, so I can relate it with this, that this famous CEOs are famous because they have experience with many different kinds of companies. So possibly he has experience in different various industries. So, and of course, when we are talking about promoting from within, yeah, then that would not be a CEO for other companies because you are promoting from within. So you naturally are talking about a non-CEO person. So this seems to go with famous CEO, but it's saying the company will often see a quick rise in revenue. Are we concerned with a quick rise in revenue? Yeah. So when I see this, that the objective was actually to make a change in order to generate revenues quickly. So that was actually the objective of the company, that it wants to generate revenues quickly. And this is saying that the company will often see a quick rise in revenues immediately after hiring a CEO. So that supports that the company should hire a famous CEO. So that makes sense. When hiring a new CEO, company needs to ensure that it does not alienate. Nowhere are we saying that if a company hires from outside or inside, it will alienate its employees. So this is the answer. And all of 3 people submitted and all of them submitted the correct answer. Cool. Any questions, any doubts, anything not clear? Okay. So before we conclude, I would like to hear if some of you learned something from the session. So any takeaway you have from today's session? Yeah, Kancha.
Yes, sir. I had two key takeaways.
Okay.
The first one was that I realized that unconsciously I was trying to put my expectations of the premise on the conclusion, whatever the question was asking.
Okay.
And the next one was that in my comprehension, the comprehension issue only lies because I move on to the next part without fully understanding the part before.
I
So
see.
once you pointed it out, like in the other questions that I solved, the rest 3 of the questions, I did not move on to the next part before understanding the first line itself. So that
See.
really helped. Even though I had more errors after that, I could identify more like the probability one. But this question I could do fully, like in the correct time because I did not move on to the next sentence before I understood
See.
the previous one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Kushbu.
Hi CJ, sorry I joined a little late today, but the learning was like 2 things. One was like I was dependent on formula to get that answer in that probability minimize thing, I actually realized that it's a range, not a specific thing. So I would have just visualized just like how you did, and I find it very easy after you mentioned that this could be another way. Otherwise, in formula, sometimes this confusion might happen. So that was one thing, that visualization may help if I am thinking in the right direction. And yes, second, the same point what Akansha pointed out, the same issue happens with me when I read in rush, that comprehension I miss out from previous sentence. So even I try to slow down myself, because there is always a time crunch for these type of question. But I feel that we should first try for accuracy, then definitely this you have told many a times, but we many a times we forget this thing. So yeah, I mean, this could be another thing, that accuracy has to be maintained first, then time.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hmm. Anyone else? Any takeaways you had from today's session? Anything you learned? Okay, nothing else. We are good to go. Have a great week ahead. Yeah, Arvind, you want to say something?
Yes, sorry, I had a lot of interruptions on my end. That's why I was on mute for most of the time. I haven't done a lot of practice on these type of questions. So my end, there were quite a few takeaways. So first thing was obviously the format.
Okay.
Because initially when I saw the first question, I was not very sure. I mean, because the options are, I mean, how am I going to respond to the question? That was one thing. Second thing is obviously one thing is pretty obvious, which has been mentioned when this format came into picture, is that the core areas, which is the CR and quant,
Right.
you have to be basically comfortable in those two areas to have good performance on this part. I mean,
Yeah.
because most of the things are interrelated. These are not very different type of questions, very similar to what we are doing in those areas.
Mhm.
And of course, I mean, there were some other things which I again realized, that is, I mean, you have to your mind should be calm. I mean, you should have good sleep in order to concentrate well. And uh, of course, I mean, you have to have some sort of familiarity by solving different kind of questions. So uh, I didn't do really well in these questions. I mean, except for the first one where I did everything right, except for I didn't read the question properly. But I think for other questions, I think my approach was not really good. But I think I will go through this video once again and probably solve a few more questions, because I think it's all about practicing, and I have not been doing
Okay. I
this
see.
part.
Thank you.
Thank you. See.
Thank you. Yeah, Abhishek.
So, not much related to the today's session, because mostly the points are covered.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask ki how's uh, how to like know when to restrict timings during practice.
हाँ तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट टाइमिंग का तो इट्स लाइक व्हेन यू आर so there are again two aspects to test taking: skill building and test taking. The two aspects to test preparation. The skill building है when you are trying to uh, improve your skills clarity, and then test taking is कि जितना होना था हो गया. अब now within the test environment how to, so एक होता है कि so let's say skill is like कि okay, this is the level I am at. Test taking is about how to perform at that level in the exam. Okay, so for example, I may reach a 785 level, but because of the screw ups that I do in the exam, I may end up getting a 705. Right?
Right, sir.
टेस्ट टेकिंग इज अबाउट कि जिस लेवल पे मैं पहुंच गया हूं स्किल्स में, अब उस लेवल पे मैं परफॉर्म कर पाऊं. आई डोंट परफॉर्म लोअर देन दैट. So there are basically various aspects of test taking कि I don't end up spending time more than necessary. I know कि ये question नहीं हो पाएगा. I better take a call. I sort of कौन सा section order is more conducive to me and all that. So I decide all of those things in the test taking stage. कि for example timing की जैसे आप बात कर रहे हो कि okay then one aspect of realizing is कि 2 मिनट के बाद I should just take a call. Okay, या 3 मिनट के बाद I should take a call. या फिर 15 सेकंड के अंदर I just realize कि this is not going to happen. I just mark it and move on. This is an aspect of test taking. Okay. But skill building का aspect है to raise your level. कि अभी मैं 555 पे हूँ. So skill building, let's say I reach 675, 705. But test taking is about कि अब 705 actual exam में भी आए. You know 705 में पहुंच चुके हूँ, but I'm not able to translate that.
Okay, sir. So how to, like, if we have to restrict time, should we go about like this if I'm taking 3 minutes for per question?
Is relevant only in the second stage.
Okay.
कि अब आपको हो गया कि अब स्किल बिल्डिंग तो हो चुकी है मेरी.
Yes, sir.
अब इट्स जस्ट अबाउट कि टेस्ट टेकिंग. बट अब तो मतलब जितना यहाँ पे जो मैं स्कोर चाहता हूँ अब उतना डिजर्व तो करने लग गया हूँ. बट डिजर्व को एक्चुअल में कन्वर्ट कर पाने की बात है रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑफ टाइम एंड टाइम्ड एनवायरनमेंट एंड ऑल दैट. बट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल व्हाट आई सी इज they don't even have this clarity कि these are two separate stages. Timing, restricting timing makes sense only once you're in the test taking stage, not in the skill building. तो अभी skills अगर build ही नहीं हुई है, you don't even deserve, let's say, a 655, but your target is 655, you actually deserve a 605. तो test taking में जाके क्या करोगे?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Right.
But let's say you realize कि I'm around that stage, 655 के आसपास पहुंच गया हूँ. So now it's sort of whatever skill level I am. Now it's about कि अब मैं test में in a timed environment कैसे behave करूँ. Then essentially you start timing yourself. And then it's about to realize कि जब मैं timed environment में कर रहा हूँ तो which calls are going wrong. ठीक है, तो वहां पे if you realize कि क्वेश्चन मेरे ज्यादातर गलत ही हो रहे हैं तो अभी स्किल बिल्डिंग पे काम करना था. Okay,
Yes.
then it means go untimed again. But if you realize कि काफी हद तक ठीक हो रहे हैं और जो गलत हो रहे हैं वो काफी बारी इस वजह से गलत हो रहे हैं बिकॉज आई एम टेकिंग रॉन्ग कॉल्स. रॉन्ग कॉल्स का मतलब ये नहीं है कि ऑप्शन में तो कंफ्यूज है, चूज अप द रॉन्ग ऑप्शन. वो तो ऑफ कोर्स क्लैरिटी का इशू है, स्किल का इशू है. रॉन्ग कॉल का मतलब है कि सो लेट्स से कि 2 मिनट बाद ही मेरे को लगा, 2 मिनट बाद ही मैं जस्ट मूव्ड ऑन, selected an option randomly. नहीं, I could have spent 15 more seconds on it. Right?
Right, sir.
So these are the calls of test taking. Whether spending another 30 seconds, 15 seconds makes sense. In this question, हो सकता है किसी question में it may not make sense, but in this question you think you are close and it makes sense. In some other question, हो सकता है 1 minute after once spending 1 minute in the question, you realize it's not going to work, or I may need at least 4 minutes. It doesn't make sense. So I'll just take a call and move on. These are test taking calls.
So, like, I wanted to ask, like, when we start restricting our time, so currently I'm taking 3 and 3.5 minutes. Should I go about like this? Ki now I'll take, so if I'm taking 3 minute 10 seconds, now should I take 3 minutes? That's the restricting time I should restrict myself, and gradually I should come to 2.5, then 2.
नहीं, पर वो आपके बोलने से थोड़ा ना कम लगने लग जाएगा. मैं आज अपने आप को बोलने लग जाऊं कि आज से मैं आप तक मैं 50 केजीज उठा सकता हूं, बट आई शुड पिक 60 केजीज. I need to have the strength to do that.
No, sir, then that only now I'm asking ki I should start, like, if I continue your example, so I should start adding 2.5 kgs, like, not every day, but every week. So
Right.
yeah, so I'm asking like कि restrict करने के लिए time को, like if I'm taking 3 minutes 10 seconds, then I should do it in 3 minutes now.
हाँ, तो 2.5 केजीज आपने ऐड करने शुरू कर दिए.
Yes, sir. But
Right.
weekly, but not like rushing into it. But जैसे weekly by weekly कि अब इस week में मैंने अब 3 minutes में क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करना है.
2.5 तो उठने जा रहे हैं, बट 55 उठाने में आपको आफत आ रही है. कभी
Yes.
भी गिर सकता है वो वेट. देन व्हाट डू यू डू?
तो वेट सर कम कर लेंगे.
फिर वापस 52.5 पे आ जाओगे. फिर थोड़ा टाइम 55 पे जाओगे. फिर यू रियलाइज कि नहीं, अभी फिर से गिरने का डर है. फिर
Yes, sir.
बेस स्ट्रेंथ पे काम करना ना. अब इट्स नॉट अबाउट जस्ट वेट बढ़ाते जाना. अब आपको अपनी स्ट्रेंथ पे काम करना है इन अदर वेज.
Okay, sir.
तो दिस इज द सेम केस. आप सेकंड्स कम कर लो, उसमें कोई बात नहीं है, बट सेकंड कम करने से देन यू मे रियलाइज की एक्यूरेसी नहीं आ रही. अब
Yes, sir.
इट मीन्स कि आपको स्किल्स पे काम करना है. दैट्स ऑल आई एम. कम करने से कम होता जा रहा है, एक्यूरेसी मेंटेन है, देन क्या है प्रॉब्लम है, करते रहो.
Okay, sir.
या सौम्य.
Yeah, so actually I'm giving mocks in like in DI as well. So problem क्या हो रहा है, like I'm running out of time in the last few questions. And if it is DS questions, then it really hurts because those are questions that I could have solved. And the cause of running out of time is that if it is an MSR question or like some graphs and tables, तो उसमें क्या होता है, like to interpret the graph and then to answer the question is it is taking time. And in MSR, the complex part is filtering out the important data from the unimportant data. So that is what is that is where I'm lagging right now. So any suggestions how I can fix that?
जब भी हम टेबल ग्राफ्स या एमएसआर करते हैं तो द फोकस इज ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल टेबल में आई ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट डिफरेंट कॉलम्स मीन. I don't start analyzing the data there. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll possibly do a session on table analysis. But essentially, the focus is not on assimilating data. The focus is just on understanding what the data represents. Same is with graphs also. So if the graph is like this or whatever, I don't start wondering कि अच्छा क्या patterns है. I just see what do the different axes represent or what do different mean there. Okay, so the idea is to understand what the data stands for, not start assimilating data.
Okay.
Now, it could be the case that even to understand what the data stands for takes time, right? In that case, so it's about skill building then. More practice, more engaged practice. But if you are trying to also assimilate data, consume data, then that's unnecessary part.
Yeah. And in MSR as well, it is happening because like there are a lot of unimportant data in MSR tabs, like which is really not required.
अनइम्पोर्टेंट में बात ये है कि इज इट पोस्ट फैक्टो और प्री फैक्टो किसी तरह से पता लग सकता है अनइम्पोर्टेंट क्या है.
हाँ, मतलब क्वेश्चंस के बाद ही पता चले.
क्वेश्चन तो जब आएंगे तब आएंगे. तो जब व्हेन यू आर कंज्यूमिंग देन यू डोंट नो कि क्या अनइम्पोर्टेंट है. तो वहां पे भी यही सेम ही है कि देन आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू रिटेन इंडिविजुअल डेटा पॉइंट. आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्या कह रहा है, कौन सी पीसेस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन किस टैब में दे रखी है उसने. देन
Okay.
व्हाट क्वेश्चन डिमांड्स आई जस्ट गो टू रेलेवेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ द whatever is given to us.
Okay, so what you are suggesting is not to memorizing the data or assimilating the data, just to understand the basic, have a basic understanding of the data.
जैसे इन दोनों
And
रिलेशनशिप दिया हुआ है या टेबल में पॉइंट्स दिए हुए हैं. अच्छा, तो दिस इज व्हाट दे मीन. नाउ उस टेबल में मैक्सिमम ज्यादा आपस में क्या रिलेशंस हैं, कुछ पैटर्न्स हैं नहीं है, आई एम नॉट विद दैट. आई जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट द डिफरेंट रोज एंड कॉलम्स स्टैंड फॉर. दैट्स ऑल.
okay, okay, ठीक है.
Okay, anything else? Cool. Okay then. Have a good night. Have a good week ahead. Take care. See you next week then.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.